Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. After a respectable top 3 placing at Major 1 in Boston, Kenny has talked about the specific game mode that really held them back this past weekend. The search and destroys were relatively poor in the series they played, especially up against FaZe. Kenny reveals exactly why and what they're trying to do going forward to fix these issues, getting into Major 2 so they can go one step further and start to seriously take on FaZe, who they're now 0-3 against this season, and of course the champions, the Toronto Ultra. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Doug talking about the pull-up record, of course, that he's going for in the relatively near future. Couple of things on the new update as well. It's not particularly new at this point. It's been in the game for a long time, but here is Dashy on Terminal. Okay, look, he's snaking a bit. He's in ranked. Everyone's going to snake. It is what it is. He's hitting some disgusting shots here, by the way. But, yeah, the spawns are a little bit interesting on this hill, I'm not going to lie. The fact that Dashy could just, pop up here, up and down, and just spawn kill these guys again and again and again is pretty tough for these other guys, but it is what it is. That's the way the map now plays. There's lots of talk as to where the terminal should just go. I do like some of the changes on this map, to be honest. I don't mind it. I think they've made some good decisions, but it's still not great, and you get issues like this that are potentially going to affect the game. Even Method says, and I think he's right about this, revert Karachi hardpoint, and as JP Krez says, invasion P1. Like, I don't really know why they needed to change Karachi. It didn't really... People weren't complaining about Karachi, were they? I didn't think so. They were complaining more so about the invasion spawns and terminal. If they just changed, like, invasion spawns and maybe got rid of Palace Hill and done what they've done with that, and then expanded Burger on terminal to the way that it now is, that would have been fine for like an overhaul. But the fact that they change everything, Zinni wants them to put Karachi back to how it was. And also, like, Invasion P1, I don't think it was needed to move it out of where the point is. And let's not forget, we'll discuss Kenny's clip there in a second. That was an unbelievable moment on that P1. It's actually a great hardpoint, I think. And it works really well for lots of different perspectives. So I don't really know why Invasion P1 needed to change either, but it is what it is. A couple of lineman cards as well to mention for you guys. These are probably the highest rated cards you're going to find to go top 12. It's pretty rare that a team has cards this good and finish top 12. But, I mean, look, Search and Destroy, they were 9-3. They started the year on, I think, a 7 streak in Search and Destroy. They were 7-8-0. They didn't kind of maintain that into the major, but definitely that was masking some of their issues. They go to the major, they can't win all their Search and Destroys, and they're, slapped out of the tournament, top 12 by the Ravens. The cards look pretty nice on paper just because, high kills per 10, high damage per 10 and stuff like this. So even though their KDs might not be great, the way the cards are calculated is based on how high the players are rated on certain statistic levels. And we see here that in terms of kills per 10 minutes in Control, for example, and damage per 10 in terms of Kismet, right up there. So that's why their cards are rated pretty highly here. But still, lots to think about with the Subliners, right? Because this is the team they lost to, the Carolina Ravens. This, of course, doesn't tell the entire story, and Fellow's numbers don't look great here, just because didn't have a great couple of series on LAN. Went to LAN, looked much better, actually had a pretty good breaking point rating on LAN, and again, as I say, because of relatively low damage, kills per 10, these other things in certain modes, the numbers don't look pretty, but I don't think that tells the entire story either. So the numbers are one thing, but, the eye test tells you another thing. The eye test, though, does agree with the numbers that they're trash at Search and Destroy. That was the main issue that Ravens had this past weekend. 2-11 on the stage, 7-7 though in hardpoint, and pretty evenly split, I would say, across the board here as well. The Search and Destroy KDs, though, not especially pretty. I would not expect Tej ever to have like a 0.7 in Search. I don't think that's going to continue. I think they should improve with that mode. If they can maintain their hardpoint, get a bit better at control, they can be a force. But yeah, these are the world champions, right? With, of course, Skyz and Sib now as the AR combo instead of Skyz and Priestahh. And Sib technically has been one of their best, if not their best performing player. But that's not translated into results. But still, Subliners, they got a top 12 placing last year as well. I think they were top 8 last year, actually, at Major 1. I think I got that wrong during the weekend. But I think they were top 12 at, like, Major 3 or whatever it was. They had a really stinker last place event last year, and they still went on to win a fair bit. But this year, I don't know, it feels a little bit different. The top teams might be a little bit too good. Subliners definitely still have the potential, but yeah, if they can't turn it around quickly, there will be questions raised on that roster as well. Speaking of Clay, I know that he did mention this. I don't know if this is the same story that we've heard for some time, but we know that the Ravens guys are planning to move to Carolina, North Carolina, to, well, have a team house maybe. But there's been some discussion of whether that's actually going to happen or whether know that that's not going to happen, unfortunately, because, well, any opportunity for me to roast the Ravens, I will be there. As an organization, you know, I actually do really rather like the team. But yeah, Clay's been in Texas. I'm guessing what he's talking about here is, you know, moving from there over to North Carolina, or whether he's moved and now something's gone wrong and now he's got to move back. I don't exactly know, but yeah, I guess stay tuned for this one going forwards. We've got to talk about OpTic Texas though, because they had a fascinating weekend really. After going off the 0-6 record in map count they had the weekend before, the weekend prior, the online stint, they went to LAN. They, well, started out pretty hot. Interesting actually, JP said as well that they were getting slammed in scrims like the first day they got there, which, and potentially they played Toronto. I don't really know, but rumor has it that Toronto and FaZe were slamming literally everybody in scrims. It didn't even matter. And the fact that FaZe and OpTic were on the same side of the bracket, they probably weren't scrimming each other. So if OpTic were getting slammed in scrims day one, it was probably to Toronto, to be honest. But whoever it was against, they started out kind of slow on the first, like, 2 minutes against Miami. Then they turned up big time. They went on to 3 of the series in the ends. And then, of course, Predator up the 3-0 in the face of Vikul. Kind of funny, really. But Subbase is interesting because they looked lights out on this map. And Pred said that they were 100-point clubbing, 30-point clubbing teams in scrims during the event on that map that just magically came into their map pool, really. So that was kind of interesting. But also Kenny giving his perspective on the search and destroy part of the equation. This was another thing that I'm sure you guys spotted during the weekends, that now we're back to online. Covert sneakers will once again be necessary, but on LAN, because you get the get the white noise in the headset, and then you have like the earbuds underneath for the game audio, or whatever way round it is, it's difficult to hear things. So on LAN, you'd probably have noticed lots of people running lightweight or something else over the covert sneakers because you weren't really getting heard to the same degree. There's also concern that maybe some people are still using sound EQ online, which is not allowed on LAN. So there's that story as well. But Kenny's like, oh damn, got to run the covert sneakers again, and I can't get away with making noise like you can in a LAN environment. So that's one of the reasons why the gameplay is different when you go to LAN. Certain players, definitely Kenny included, are better in that type of scenario. But the search and destroy was still a weakness here for OpTic as well. And I'll just let Kenny here explain exactly what they're going to try and do to turn that around. But also I just wanted to share this moment where he breaks down the invasion hardpoint clutch.
It's because I'm waiting and I see Drazah shoot at this moment right here. So in this moment, I'm like, wow, they're taking their time. They're about to bait and switch me. Once I kill Cell here, I'm like, I'm about to get shot in the back because I can tell from Brandon's comms that he's probably about to die. That's what it sounded like. He's about to die. So I need to get in a spot where like I can play a 1v1 on Drazah but not get shot in the back. And that's why I get up and move. And like I'm keeping my centering at the door so that I can still take the gunfight if I need to. But if he like, let's say he hides behind the wall. If I can get into this corner behind this desk, I can still play a 1v1 with Drazah only, and aBeZy and Simp can't shoot me in the back. That was like the whole idea of why I got him and moved and didn't lay in the same spot. Because realistically, if I lay down right here and play the 1v1 with Drazah, I'd probably kill him and get instantly traded. So right here, this is why I get up, but I keep my centering at the door so that if he takes the gunfight, I still have a chance. That's like the whole thought process on why I get my iron and like why I'm like moving to the left. So when I kill this guy, now I'm in momentum and I can get in a corner to like either live if my teammates are close enough or take a gunfight. So like here, obviously they're in the hill, Brandon's dead. I'm like, I have a chance, like right here. So they can't see me, as you can tell. That's why I took the gunfight the way I took it on Drazah, is to make sure that like I don't get shot in the back. And if he wants to slow play it, I have a chance to like buy time. And then here like was kind of just like a takeover moment. Like I don't know if aBeZy was weak or not, but I'm assuming he was, but I win these two, and then I hit a little pop-up on aBeZy right here. Bam. And at this moment, it was kind of just like we knew we won, but like I just kind of got like a crazy spawn kill right here. I just like maybe I just had a different approach to the S&Ds, and we just had a different approach as a team because this whole weekend I just wasn't comfortable in S&D, and it wasn't just my team, it was just like my play. Like I realistically don't know what I was doing, and I feel like that comes down to like better preparation from myself and just as a team, because a lot of our strats were just getting changed during the whole event, and I think it was just like our comms. One thing we need to work on going forward is like our comms and S&D, because our comms and respawn are really good, and that comes off the basis of me and like calling a game plan. I just feel like right now our game plans and S&D can be like kind of like flip-floppy. So like a lot of times I don't really know them, so I don't really know what to call or calm. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times just calling out people in S&D. So I feel like going forward is like a big thing for me to work on. Is like, let me get a game plan down for the team in S&D, or just know the game plan down in S&D, so that the fact that I can calm it and calm what to do in these scenarios. Because a lot of the times I feel like most of the time I'm actually a pretty good S&D player for the most part, or like a decent one. I'm not like the best one, but I'm decent in reading moments and like what to do in maps. It's just like this weekend I don't know. A lot of the times I just felt confused and like felt like I didn't really know what to do, and that's, like I said, once again off just me not knowing what our game plan is or what we would realistically want to do and what my role is in like our strat, you know. So I would definitely say that like my biggest takeaway from the weekend is like, yo, you got to get better at S&D. Like, you played really well in respawns. The team is playing really well in respawns, but like I said before, we need to have that bounce back game mode, and we need that momentum booster game too.
So this was so fascinating to hear from Kenny's perspective, and of course what he's talking about here is pretty much all going off instinct, right? During the moment, he's not going through a checklist of like, okay, this happened, therefore do this. He thinks about these things in the moment, but largely his brain just makes these decisions on this information and using these reasoning, but without him having to think about it, right? It's all instinct. The decision that he made here to go across the room, just great to listen to. This is one of the reasons as well why it frustrates me. You remember those guys that were saying, oh, Warzone pros is more skillful than the CDL, because they say, oh, all we've got to do is hold angles. It's super easy. Some people just aren't grasping the level of skill gap that actually exists at the top level of Call of Duty, and this is just one fantastic example. Also just reminds me of why Hardpoint, when it comes down to the wire 240, 240, and you got to make these type of decisions in those moments in order to clutch up, just make Hardpoint just the best game mode ever, right? Search and Destroy is a great game mode, but it's overshadowed by, you know, Counter-Strike or whatever other game that has a better Search and Destroy. Hardpoint is just second to none, and it's moments like this just make you realize why Call of Duty is just so good. But Kenny, of course, also talking about the Search and Destroy side of the equation, because that was their main issue, right? He did all this to go to game 5 against FaZe, and then they still lost the game 5. Their record in Search this season is not great. We can actually look at their stats here in a second. In Search and Destroy, their numbers look like this. Shotzzy has loads of plants and diffuses. Their KDs are pretty good, but their S&D record is 5 in 10. So they've lost both high rises they've played. They've gone 2 in 4 in Invasion, 2 in 1 on Karachi, but a lot of people veto Karachi against them now, and 1 in 3 on Terminal. So most maps on Search and Destroy, they're losing at the moment. That is obviously an issue, but as Kenny says, they weren't as well prepared as they might well have been, and it'll be interesting to think about going into the major. They were struggling in their respawns. I mean, they were struggling in every mode, and let's be honest, there are more respawns in the series than there are Search and Destroy. So I guess their thought process was, let's just get the respawn locked down, which they did, but the Search and Destroy was not exactly neglected, but just because they weren't maybe as well practiced going into the event as they needed to be, the idea, as Kenny says, that the comms, the understanding of the game plan wasn't so well defined. That was a bit of an issue. And I thought that OpTic, they brought a lot of interesting tactics to the table. Like, there was a few ideas they pulled out on Invasion against FaZe. I was like, wow, that's some of the more innovative stuff I've seen in Search and Destroy rounds, you know, hard countering FaZe, stuff like that. But that's tactics. There's also strategy. Strategy is like the overarching feeling that OpTic have going into the map. And it felt like they had some tactics, but they really didn't have a strategy, especially how they would adapt as the map progressed. That's what FaZe did very well against OpTic, was adapt to what OpTic were doing over the rounds. OpTic didn't really know what to do once they ran out of tactics, basically. So I'm sure there'll be lots of work going into that for OpTic over the next couple of weeks. I guess the issue is, in some regard for OpTic, is that there isn't, well, there's a lot of time now, but there's also other things to focus on, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a brand new patch update just arrived into the game with loads of changes, loads of new things to learn, and all this type of stuff. And you've got to also learn Search and Destroy. So it's like, it's not like Respawn is the same and you just have to focus on your Search and Destroy. Respawn is significantly different, and there's lots of work to be done on Search and Destroy as well. So that is going to be very interesting to see. Just to close out for you guys, thought this is kind of funny. We saw aBeZy deny using single tap a little while ago now, and there were some questions here from Aiden. Why is single tap to run not even allowed? The pros obviously say, generally speaking, that it creates a skill gap when it's not allowed, because the movement between the pros would be too similar if it was allowed. And this is what Scrappy says, roasting accuracy here, Mr. Iron Boots Lamar. Respectfully, there's a big difference when you use it or not. I know it might not seem like it to the average terrible player, but when you're shooting the best of the best and Lamar aBeZy is in his 10th year MVP form, there is a problem, right? So yeah, and even accuracy probably agrees and says, yeah, look, my movement isn't great. When I was using single tap, I was moving like Shotzzy. So maybe Scrappy at accuracy, despite coming to blows somewhat with the roast game here, probably agree on the sentiments that, yeah, it actually does increase the skill gap within the game getting it gone. But actually ensuring that it's banned, that's another question, because aBeZy apparently used it, although maybe apparently didn't use it. We heard that drama a few days ago. But very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.